Okay, Algebra kids, we are on number 11 in our semester review packet. I'm going to try to get through, we have to do 10 questions today, but I'm going to try to get through 22 because that's a good stopping point, because those involve like imaginary numbers. So if we stop at 20, like 21 and 22 are imaginary numbers also. So 22 is a good stopping place. Let's try to get that far, and we will see from there. As I go through this, I know that I'm not there in class today, but make sure you're writing everything down. And if you were going through a problem and you're like, I have no idea what she just did, I don't know, I'm obviously not there right now to answer questions for you. So put maybe a star by it, and then we can talk about it when I come back. Okay. So 11 starts talking about slope, and it's not slope intercept form. That's this problem. Okay. Slope is just m, and it is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay. And so these are the 2 points that I have. I have to find the slope of that. Okay. So I'm going to designate that like this is my first coordinate. So this would be like x1, y1. And then this would be like x2, y2. Okay. So when I'm going to fill this in, y2 is 8 minus y1 is 2 over x2 is 2 minus 8. So I'm going to do it that way. Okay. 8 minus 2 on the top is 6. 2 minus 8 on the bottom is negative 6, and that will be a negative 1 for a slope. And that's it. That's all you have to do. That one's not too bad. Okay. Now, this one is a little bit more involved because you want slope-intercept forms. We want y equals mx plus b. So we're going to find m first using that formula, y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. And I'm going to find the m, and then I'm going to use that to find the b. Okay. So for my m, y2 is 9 minus 6 over 3 minus 2. 9 minus 6 is 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. So my slope is 3. Okay, great. So now I have y equals 3x plus b. I've plugged the 3 in for m. And now I have to find the b value. So I get to use either this point or this point. It doesn't matter which one. To find b, I'm going to use 2, 6, I think. Okay. So I'm plugging 2, 6 in for x and y to solve for b. Make sure that you put the 6 in for y and the 2 in for x. So I've got that going on. 3 times 2 is 6. If I subtract the 6 over to get b by itself, I get 0. So final answer, y equals 3x plus 0. Or you can just put y equals 3x. And that is your final answer. Okay? So that is the slope, or is the equation of the line that goes through these 2 points. Y equals 3x. Okay. All right. Let's talk about parallel and perpendicular. I want you to write this off to the side over here. Okay. On this question, I'm asking for perpendicular, but on the test, I might ask you for parallel, just as a hint. If you are dealing with, so this is the equation of my line right here, and the slope of this line is 1/3. If I want a line to be parallel to that line, I'm going to use the same slope. So my slope is 1/3. I'm going to use 1/3 as my slope if I'm doing parallel. Now for perpendicular, the slope equals a negative reciprocal. Okay, so 1/3 is going to flip to become 3 over 1, but then I need to make it negative now. Okay, so that would be like -3 is my slope that I'm going to use. Okay, so that's how you do your slope. I want the equation of the line, so that's like y equals mx plus b. Okay, I know m. I just found m. M I have to use is -3. If I want it to be perpendicular, it has to be -3. Plus b, and then, I don't know why there's another set of parentheses there. That's a typo. But anyway, I want it to go through the point -3, 5. So just like we did up here, I'm going to plug points in and solve for b. So 5 goes in for y, -3 times -3 plus b. And now I'm going to multiply -3 and -3 is +9. To get the 9 moved over to the other side to solve for b, I'm going to subtract. So b is equal to like -4. All right, my final answer then is going to be y equals -3x minus 4. And that's final answer. Okay. All right, 14 and 15 are substitution and elimination. Okay, so when you're substituting, you need to solve for one variable and then substitute it into the second equation, okay? So like here, I have 4 options. I can either solve for x here, I could solve for y here, I could solve for x here, and I could solve for y here. One of those 4 is easier than the others, okay? And it is solving for this guy. If I solve for this x, then I don't have to divide by anything, so it just makes it really nice. All I have to do is boot the 4y to the other side. So to get the 4y to go to the other side, I'm going to subtract 4y. And that means x equals negative 4y plus 2 is how I'm going to write that, okay? Now I've solved for x. I'm going to put a little box around that so that I can find him later. And what I'm going to do is I've solved the second equation for x. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that x and I'm going to plop it into the first equation where the x is. So instead of 2 times x, all that junk, minus 4y plus 2, he's going to go in that spot. Then I have minus 7y equals 49. Okay, so again, I did 2x minus 7y equals 49, but x in that spot, I put that chunk, okay? I'm going to distribute the 2, so this would be negative 8y plus 4 minus 7y equals 49. Okay, and now I'm just doing algebra to solve. So I'm going to combine the negative 8y and the negative 7y. So that is negative 15y plus 4 equals 49. Now, some of you guys can do multiple steps at once, and that's totally fine. I'm going to subtract the 4 over now, and I have negative 15y equals 45. If I divide by negative 15, I get negative 3 is what the y value is, okay? As I'm going through this, if I'm going too fast, please pause or, slow down and you can get everything. And again, put a little star if you don't understand what's going on. And we will go over it again, okay? So negative 3 is what I got for y. Now I have to plug back in and solve for x. So I can plug it in here if I want to. I can plug it in here if I want to. But I'm going to plug them in real nice right here because I already have x solved for. So I've got negative 4 times negative 3. That's what y is, plus 2. And negative 4 times negative 3 is 12, and 12 plus 2 is 14. Okay, so the solution, I'm going to write as an ordered pair, is 14 comma negative 3. This is the coordinate point. Now, what's so exciting about that coordinate point is that these two are linear functions, like they're lines if I graph them right, and the place where they cross is at 14, negative 3. That's what we just found using substitution. We're going to do the same thing down below here, but we're going to use elimination to solve for that coordinate point, okay? So I'm looking for eliminating the x's or eliminating the y's. So like I'm trying to add these together, 4x and 7x. If I try to add those, that makes 11. So those don't really cancel out very nicely. But what would cancel out really nice, like the y's, one is 5y, the other one is 5y. The problem is if I add those together right now, that makes 10y. So what I have to do is I have to make one of those negative, okay? And I'm going to make the top one negative because 41 is smaller than 53. So if I make that negative, then I'll still have a positive number. If you want to make the bottom one negative, it doesn't matter. You're just multiplying everything through by a negative 1. So I'm going to put him right below here. And I have negative 4x minus 5y equals negative 41. And now I'm going to add these two equations together. All right, 7x and negative 4x. This gives me, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put 3x. These two are going to cancel out. 5y and negative 5y cancels. And then here I get 53 minus 41 is 12. Then if I divide by 3, I get x is 4. Okay, so I'm already solved for a value. Now I have to plug back in, and I can plug it in wherever I want to. I could plug it in here, I could plug it in here, I could plug it in after I distribute the negative 3. It doesn't matter where I plug it in. I'm just going to go to the top equation. So 4 is going in for x. So 4 times 4 plus 5y equals 41. That's what we get there. All right, then 4 times 4 is 16. I'm going to subtract the 16 over. And I have 5y equals 41 minus 16 is 25, I believe. Then if I divide by 5, y is 5. Okay, so my final answer, if I write it as an ordered pair, is 4, comma 5. And again, that is going to be the place where these two lines cross each other, okay? All right, again, if you need to pause or go back or whatever, there is that, okay? Just do whatever you need to do. All right, that is substitution and elimination. Okay, couple more. 16 says determine whether the function has a maximum or a minimum and then find the y-intercept, okay? So this guy, let's just talk about what this thing is right here. His highest power is 2. He is a quadratic function. And a quadratic function looks like a parabola. So we need to decide, is he going to smile like this or is he going to frown like this? And the way that we decide is the very first term is -3. And the fact that it's negative means I'm going to have this thing happening, okay? He's going to be a frowny face. Now, if he's a frowny face, will he have a maximum, a high point, or will he have a minimum point? This guy is going to be a maximum. If he's a frowny face, he's going to have a maximum. So it says, determine whether he has a maximum or a minimum. Great, he's going to have a maximum. Now find the y-intercept, okay? You find a y-intercept by plugging 0 in for x. Now, some of you guys already know that if I plug 0 in here, and I plug 0 in here, 0 times that's going to go away, 0 times that's going to go away, so my y-intercept is just -1. Okay, you can look at that, and I'm going to write him as a y-intercept. Y-intercept is -1. There we go. I'll label him better. Okay, so he has a maximum, and he has a y-intercept of -1. Okay. All right, now 17, 16, 17, and 18, these three numbers all go together. So we're using the same equation. I'm going to get rid of some of my stuff. I'm using that same equation up there. And now, instead of finding the y-intercept and the maximum, I'm going to find the vertex and the axis of symmetry, okay? So vertex, the equation for finding the vertex is -b over 2a, okay? Now, after I've done -b over 2a, I plug that number back into the equation to find the y-coordinate. Okay, so, all right, let's look. -b, the b value is 12, because it goes a, b, c. -b over 2 times a, and a is -3. So this is -12 over -6, which is +2. So my vertex is 2 comma something. We don't know what that something is. Okay, but to find it, I plug 2 into here. So I have -3 times 2 squared. I'm plugging them in here. Plus 12 times 2 minus 1. Okay, I'm going to zoom in. 2 squared is 4, and 4 times -3 is -12. Plus 12 times 2 is 24, minus 1. Okay, -12 plus 24 is 12, minus 1 is 11. So 2 comma 11 is my vertex. Okay, let's see what else we had to find. We had to find the vertex, and then we had to find the axis of symmetry. Okay, before I do that, let's start graphing this stuff. So I'm going to start doing number 18 first, and let's graph some things that we have. We have our y-intercept from up here was -1. So I'm going to plot a dot there. Then I'm going to go to 11. Oh, crap. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Something right there. That's where my vertex is, okay? Now, this is the vertex. He's a high point. He's going to go down, and he's going to be a frowny face. This is where my axis of symmetry is at. It's like if I fold him in half, where is he at, okay? Now, I can complete the other side because I know that it's going to go through this point, right? If I have a point over here, I'm going to have a point over here. I'm going to do my parabola on this side, okay? So my axis of symmetry that it was asking for is it's going through 2. But please, please, please do me a favor, and instead of writing just 2, write x equals 2, because x equals 2 is a line versus 2 is just saying a point, okay? So x equals 2 is the axis of symmetry. It's going through the x-axis at 2, all right? So it says 18, use the information from problem 16, 17 to graph. Hey, we've already done that. 18 was done, okay? So those can kind of all three, on the test, those three will all be together as well. They'll be the only ones that aren't like completely mixed up. Those three will go as a chunk together. if that makes any sense, okay? So yes, all your problems on your test are mixed up, except those three will still be in a chunk together, okay? All right, moving on. 19, when it says simplify, no decimals, okay? I want you to break down the square root of 32. What goes into 32 that you can take the perfect square root of? I'm thinking like 4 and 8, but you can do bigger than 4 and 8. What's bigger than 4 that goes into 32? 16. I can do 16 and 2. If I take the square root of 16, the square root of 16 is 4. And if I take the square root of 2, that stays the square root of 2. So that's what I want for the square root of 32. 4 square roots of 2. Good. Done. Okay. Number 20 is saying subtract. I know that by the fact that it says subtract, and there's a minus sign in between them, okay? So when there's a minus sign, you have to be careful because you have to distribute through your negative. So I've got minus 4 plus 3i, okay? This guy's just going to chill 6 plus 2i. He's not going to change. And now that I've distributed the negative, now I have to combine like terms. So 6 and negative 4 makes 2. 2i and 3i makes plus 5i. And there is my solution for number 20. Okay, we're going to do 21 and 22 quick. This one is multiply. So here we're going to FOIL. So I'm going to first take 6 times 3, which is 18. Then I'm going to take 6 times negative 2i, which is negative 12i. In the middle two pieces, 5i times 3 is plus 15i. And then the last pieces, 5i times negative 2i is negative 10i squared. Okay, I want you to put a little star by this one that says, when we have an I squared here, I squared is equal to negative 1. All right, that was something that we learned way back when we were doing complex numbers. So if I squared is negative 1, then in this place, I'm going to put negative 1. And what that does is I take negative 1 times negative 10, and that turns it into a positive 10. Okay, so basically it just changes the sign of the number that's in front of it. Now I combine my like terms. So 18 plus 10 is 28. Negative 12i plus 15i is plus 3i. And now I'm done. Okay, all right, last one is 22. We're solving for x, and it's going to have an I in the answer. So it says using I. All right, so I'm getting x by itself. I'm going to move everything else to the other side. Like 50 goes to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 50 over here. So I have 2x squared equals negative 50. Okay, then I'm going to divide by 2. 50 divided by 2 gives me negative 25. Okay, then I'm going to take the square root. Okay, now the square root of 25 comes out nicely. It is 5, but if I have a negative inside of there, it needs to be an I. And the only other thing that I'm missing is when we put the square root in, we need plus minus. So there is my final answer. It has an I in it, has plus minus because we put the square root in, and then the square root of 25 is 5. So that's how that works out, okay? That should be the last little piece of I stuff. Now we get into the factoring things, okay? So we'll start on that tomorrow, but what I would do if I were you, because I know you have time left in class, this video isn't that long, I would maybe start doing some of these other ones. So attempt to do some of these others. If you don't know how to do one, skip it. But try to work through some of these other ones because that will only help. Like you can multiply. You know how to FOIL this out, right? Do some of those, and that will make it less of a load tomorrow when we go through those problems. And it, you won't have to write as much and that type of thing. And it will help you study for your test. So start doing some of those. Again, if you don't know how to do one, skip it. But try to do some of those on your own if you can. Okay? All right. Goodbye.